Now, before we can continue, we need to make sure that that we have some clarity about the fundamental teachings on what we call the 6 realms. In the Tibetan tradition, the realms of experience are divided into 6 categories. So depending on your inclination, you can think that there are really just 6, or that maybe there aren't that many, or that maybe there are more. And the reason why I just said that is because I don't think it matters so much. But what's important is that by virtue of our interconnectedness with others, we end up having certain realms of experience. And some of those realms are horrific, and we call them the hell realms. And the hell realms are divided up into categories and subcategories and so on. We're not going to go into that today. And after the hell realms, then coming up like things are getting slightly better, but not much. We have the realms of what we call the hungry ghosts. The hungry ghosts are insatiable because they never get enough. No matter what they get, it's never enough. the implication is that even if they got an unlimited amount of food, of warmth, of whatever it was that they felt lacking in, that it would never be enough. That it's not an issue of quantity as much as it is a mentality. Like there just isn't enough, period. So they suffer from endless hunger, grasping after more and more, but no matter what they get, it isn't enough. And so it's symbolized in a certain way by talking about how being thirsty, they find water, but they drink the water and it's foul, or it's boiling hot, or it's mixed with something terrible somehow. They just can't get satisfaction. And the same with the food. The food turns into poison when they eat it, and so on. So we get the sense. Following the hungry ghosts, we come up to the realm of the animals. And animals, again, have some serious things to deal with. Part of what they need to deal with is that those who live around human beings get hitched up to tractors and things and made to plow and do all sorts of things. And then when they get a little bit old and not quite able to do things, then we kill them and eat them. So, not so great. And they're also, referenced, much to the chagrin of a lot of people who love animals, don't like to hear the judgment that they're kind of stupid. But it's not actually a derogatory judgment. It's more a matter of, we are as stupid as animals also in most ways, so it doesn't get us much to divide these things up into categories. But animals suffer from heat and cold and lack of food and being eaten by other animals. Like small animals rarely live their full lifespan before they're eaten, so they all die a violent death. And it's not a great realm, the animal realm, maybe with the exception of pet cats or something like that, It's not like everything has a really terrible existence, but there are certain characteristics that are prone in certain realms, and that's the point. And then we come to the human realm, which in some ways looks pretty good. But those of us who are humans sitting here may actually have a different judgment about it, depending again on where exactly we're located. But the principal unfortunate characteristic of the human realm is just contained in one short phrase: excess activity. Now, we probably think that excess activity is definitely a problem today, and pretty much we might imagine that we in this time invented excess activity. But the phrase of suffering from excess activity goes back a number of centuries to when it was actually penned into the text. So it's not a modern phenomena. It's a phenomena which is inherent to human beings as something that we don't seem to be able to avoid. Many of us would like to do more retreat. Very few of us get around to it. Many of us would like to do more retreat, and we have the time, and we still can't get around to it because we continually manufacture things that need to be done that actually don't need to be done. But we can't quite get out of that trench. It's like we're just stuck in it. And we will even say, I can't help it. You know, maybe I have too many friends who place too many demands on me. But these things are all workable from one perspective, but we just can't seem to make it come together. So excess activity for human beings, and then we come to what are called the jealous gods, or the Asuras, they're sometimes called. The jealous gods are amazing. And again, characterized by an emotional state that we're all familiar with. The jealous gods have more in terms of food and riches and everything else than the vast majority of human beings could imagine. The problem with the jealous gods is that there's another realm above them, the god realms. And the gods have even more than the jealous gods. And I don't know who came up with this, but the jealous gods can see into the God realm. See, we can't see into the God realm. We can't see into the jealous God realm either, but apparently the jealous gods can see the God realm. And when they see what the gods have, they want it. And they won't give up. They keep fighting. They wage wars. They do, and you can find this in the world if you just think about it for a moment. They wage wars to get what other places have. It never, either in this world or in the text, bears any fruit that is sweet. It's all negative. So the God realms can see the jealous gods. There's one teacher said this to me with slight tongue-in-cheek. The gods can see the jealous gods fighting and trying to get into the God realm, but it's impossible. And so they take it as a joke. It's kind of funny. See how they try to get in? They can't do it, which drives the jealous gods nuts. So there's this exact kind of play that we have analogs for in the human realm also. So my own proclivity is that 6 realms doesn't work for me. Even if I put 3 zeros after the 6 realms, it still feels like it's not enough variations, and that the world and the universe is much bigger than what we can imagine. That said, we're now at the point of the prayer, which is called the prayer of Chenrezig, Gelong Pema Karpo's heart practice.
Page 23.
What? Oh, on page 23? Sorry. There's text in between, which we may not get to today, the 7-branch prayer, but we will come back to it.
You missed the section on the gods themselves.
I'm sorry?
You missed the section on the gods themselves.
Oh, I did, you're right. The gods themselves. Thank you. The God realms then, they live, it's said anyway, that they live an extraordinary length of time in good health. They experience endless luxury of every kind and connections with each other, which are also very positive. And we could go on for a long time about the gods like any of the other realms, but one of the big deals with the God realms is that while they're very happy with each other and they live an extraordinary period of time, it is nonetheless the case that the truth of the situation finally bears its fruit, which is that they also must die. As human beings and animals and all the rest, their lives come to an end. Most of us, when we die, we're surrounded by friends and family. The gods are not. When someone is approaching death, the story is they emit a horrible odor. And that odor is recognized by the gods as the beginning of someone dying. And they are so shocked and concerned, the gods are, when they're dying, because they can see that they will now cycle through the other realms, just like all other sentient beings do. And so they become horrified by this, and they abandon all of the ones that they previously knew, so that the final fate in this life for most of the gods is to die alone. So all of that could be taken as basically an anecdotal story. But if you take it kind of loosely also, rather than strictly, if you take it loosely, it's a story about the extended range of suffering and the variety of sufferings that are in the world. So it's a ponderous piece, and it plays a role in all of the Tibetan practices. Okay, so we're back to the prayer of Chenrezig, Gelong Pema Karpo's heart practice. This one. On page 30 at the bottom, there's a short thing that we call the small print usually. It's in italics on the bottom of page 30. It says, this prayer was recited by the great Siddha, that is a great accomplished individual, the great Siddha Tongtong Gyalpo, as he recalled the words from a former life. At one time he was born as the monk Pema Karpo, practicing the Nunye practice from age 20 to 80. He supplicated with these words, one pointedly, to noble Chenrezig. Hence the prayer indeed possesses the supreme mark of blessing. So, Gelong Pema Karpo's heart practice and the prayer to Chenrezig is about the act of compassion and the manifestation of bodhicitta. So we will have a puzzle, a question to ask ourselves here along the way, and that is, how does this work exactly? Pema Karpo's heart prayer goes along with the activity of Chenrezig. So the activity of Chenrezig is to do what is necessary in order for beings to move in the direction of and ultimately recognize the nature of mind. Now, in order to do that, some kind of energy and something has to happen that doesn't ordinarily happen. So we're back into that place again of we need to be able to take our usual emotional reactivity, which runs not maybe 24 hours a day, but a significant fraction of our life. We live in a state of emotional reactivity, which is, as we all know, a state of very high energy often. We need a way to take that energy and turn it into the recognition of the nature of mind itself. The practice of Chenrezig is meant to, amongst other things, meant to demonstrate that process. As we were talking about earlier, making the commitment to engage in benefiting others in the same way that Conklin Rinpoche is said to make that commitment to do as much for sentient beings as the 999 Buddhas did before. Chenrezig is the means by which this comes about. The purification of the realms, the 6 realms, whether you want to call them 60 realms or 6 million realms or whatever, Chenrezig is the means by which the realms are purified. In other words, those who experience those things find themselves free of the suffering that appears to be almost inherent in those realms by the way that normally it's taught, but it's also taught that those realms actually do not exist. So unlike many of the religious traditions that we're familiar with, in the West especially, the hell realm is a place. It's a place where if you do wrong things, they're ready for you. And after you die, you go there and they take care of you in the way that they want to take care of you. And this is not the case here. The hell realms here are places that, as one teacher told me, the realms are like dream states. The realm occurs when the dream begins. So if you are about to experience being tortured and killed, that experience begins the hell realm. In other words, you sleep, you wake up in the hell realm, in a sense. We're not talking about the sleep of slumber at night. We're talking about the sleep of no awareness, of not being clear, not seeing clearly. Actually, maybe even completely believing our own emotionally reactive patterns. So it doesn't really exist in the sense of a place in time and space, but of course our experience of it occurs in a place of time and space. So Gelung Pema Karpo wrote this prayer as a way of beseeching Chenrezig to, for want of a better term, do your job. Do what you do and don't stop and keep doing it. The prayer is a very nice prayer. I think we should read it once in English and recite it once in Tibetan.
I pray to you, Lama Chenrezig. I pray to you, Yidam Chenrezig. I pray to you, perfect noble Chenrezig. I pray to you, refuge protector Chenrezig. I pray to you, Lord of love Chenrezig. Victorious and compassionate one, hold us with your compassion. For beings experiencing unbearable suffering, wandering numberless and endless samsara, there is no refuge other than you, protector. Grant the blessing to attain all-knowing Buddhahood. Propelled by negative karma, accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born in hell by the force of anger, and experience the suffering of heat and cold. May they be born in your presence, Supreme Deity.
As much as you need to know just at this moment is in the text, except for at this very moment when we come to the end of one of the realms, we then recite O Mani Padme Hum, which is Chenrezig's mantra. when we say Om Mani Padme Hum, it's really co-present with Chenrezig's activity. So from Chenrezig's body, the 5 colored lights radiate out in all directions, and they strike the beings of the individual realm that we're talking about. So here we're talking about the hell realm. So the beings in the hell realm, the light from Chenrezig strikes those beings, and the karma that leads them to be in those realms is purified. So they are relieved of both the suffering itself and the causes of that suffering. Now there's more that could be said here, and that is that Chenrezig's bodhicitta, really, it's not quite right to say it like that. Chenrezig is the essence of bodhicitta. When that light goes out, it is like the light from the sun. It is not sent to individuals who are deserving. It is sent like the sun to all beings with no prerequisite and no measurement of whether a person's life is one way or the other. What they do or have done with their lives or will do with their lives is not relevant. But Chenrezig's light really is the essence of equanimity. It has no direction. It goes in all directions, strikes all beings equally. All you have to do is be in that place. You have to be receptive, which is a common theme in many spiritual traditions. So here again, that's all that's necessary. So we imagine when we recite the prayer that indeed those beings in the hell realm are open, and that they are struck by this light and they receive the blessings and are purified of the causes of suffering and the suffering itself. So we go through each of the realms and recite that, and each time we come to Om Mani Padme Hum, we imagine this light going from Chenrezig to all sentient beings in all places. So once again, let's recite it once in English, and then we'll go back and recite it in Tibetan, sing it.
I pray to you, Lama Chenrezig. I pray to you, Chenrezig. I pray to you, perfect noble Chenrezig. I pray to you, refuge protector Chenrezig. I pray to you, Lord of love Chenrezig. Victorious and compassionate one, hold us with your compassion. For beings experiencing unbearable suffering, wandering numberless and endless samsara, there is no refuge other than you, protector. Grant the blessing to attain all-knowing Buddhahood. Propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born in hell by the force of anger and experience the suffering of heat and cold. May they be born in your present supreme deity, Om Mani Padme Hum. Propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born in the Yadak realm by the force of greed and experiencing the suffering of hunger and thirst. May they be born in the perfect realm, the Potala, Om Mani Padme Hum. Propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born as animals by the force of bewilderment and experience the suffering of stupidity. May they be born in your presence, protector, Om Mani Padme Hum. Propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born in the human realm by the force of desire and attachment and experience the suffering of excess activity and frustration. May they be born in the perfect realm of Dewa Chen, Om Mani Padme Hum. propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time. Sentient beings are born in the demigod realm by the force of jealousy and experience the suffering of fighting and quarreling. May they be born in the realm of Potala. Om Mani Padme Hum. Propelled by negative karma accumulated from beginningless time, sentient beings are born in the God realms by the force of pride and experience the suffering of change and falling. May they be born in the realm of the Potala. Om Mani Padme Hum. Life after life with actions equaling Chenrezig's. May I liberate beings from impure realms and spread the perfect sound of the 6 syllables in the 10 directions. By the power of praying to you, perfect noble one, may the beings to be trained by me take heed of action and result and strive for virtuous activity. May they possess the Dharma for the benefit of beings.
Now the music, shall we sing the chant it, with some melody?
So adeb so Lama Chenrezig, so adeb so Yidam Chenrezig, so adeb so Pacho Chenrezig, so adeb so Kyabgon Chenrezig, so adeb so Jamgon Chenrezig, tu Jesun Shikyawatu Jechen Tame Korwa Drone Jechen Zume Dunya Yangwe Drowa Gumpo Kele Kyabshen Machiso Nam Ken Sanje Topa Jingilo Tome Dune Leyen Sakpetu Jedang Wangi Nyawake Jute Sadrang Dunya Yangwe Sem Chenam La Choke Kidrun Duke Show Homani Padme Hum. Tome Dune Leyen Sakpetu Sene Wangi Suke Trekom Duna Yangwe Sem Chenam Jincho Potala Ruke Wajo Om Mani Padme Hum. Tome Dune Leyen Sakpetu Te Chodewa Chenduke Washo Homani Pemeha Tome Leyen Sabetu Trakdok Wangi Suke Tapso Dunayang Wesen Chenam Putalayi Jingduke Washo Homani Pemehang Tokme Dune Leyan Sakpetu Nyawangi Layine Zuge Potang Dunya Yahweh Sem Chenam Potalayi Shingduke Washo Homani Pemehang Dakni Keshin Kewatam Chedu Chenrezig Dang Se Pasun Pai Madak Shingi Dronam Drodam Sun Choidu Chochoge Pasho Pakcho Kela Soa Depetu Dagido Charger Pedro Ana Ledre Gawe Latson Droeden Du Chudan Pasho.
Let's do the dedication here.
Netar sechi sota pe pape gule onsetra madak lenang chushe jang chinu dewa chenjishin Nam chu kedro yaksen Chenrezig wang kunsung nan rak ring tang
Now at this time, we can recite the mantra for a little while. So maybe, let's see, 1 second. Yeah, we'll recite Chenrezig's mantra. Let's sing it for a dozen times or so.
Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Om Mani Om Mani Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Om Mani Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Mani Padme Hum.
As we begin this last section, we see the instruction at the bottom of the pecha, which says, finally rest in the essence without conceiving of the three spheres. I think we'll come back to those a little later. In this section, we dissolve our visualization. when we were reciting the prayer of Tongtong Gyalpo's prayer, and each time we recited Om Mani Padme Hum, the light would go out to the various beings. And at this time, as we come to the end of the section, let's see. We will dissolve our visualization, our imagination of ourselves as Chenrezig. And the steps that lead to that, I think we're also going to put off until this afternoon. But we can imagine that at the very end, the beginning, when we imagined ourselves as Chenrezig, we begin from a small seed of intention, you might say. And that intention carried us to this point. And now the intention is to let go of the, let me put it this way, the intention is to allow the method that we have used to bring ourselves to this point to dissolve. And that dissolution ordinarily takes place in a number of stages, but it can also happen quite quickly by just imagining that all the realms, the 6 realms, and all of the animate, that is to say sentient beings, and inanimate objects in the world completely dissolve into each other. And we are left with a formless state where the intention is to rest for just a few moments, literally. So imagine that in the period of less than a breath, the entire outer world of phenomena dissolves into all the sentient beings. And all those beings dissolve into us as Chenrezig. And Chenrezig then also dissolves, little by little becoming smaller and thinner, until there is only a spot of light. And that spot of light, like a small pea in size, also grows smaller and smaller and finally dissolves into itself. And in that vast space, which is now liberated, we rest our awareness, free of thought, free of concern, free of distraction, for just a short period. Then we'll recite the piece that follows on page 33 that begins in English with the apparitional bodies.
Please.
And we'll recite that once in English and then once in Tibetan.
The apparitional bodies of myself and others are the body of the Noble One. Sounds are the melody of the 6 syllables. Thought and memory are waves of great intrinsic awareness. By this virtue may I quickly accomplish the state of powerful Chenrezig and establish all beings without exception on that level. Dakshin lunam pape kudra draki Drento yeshe chenpo gewadi nyoduda Chenrezig wandu churne drowa chikyang malupa
We'll do the dedication. Next page.
Through the merit of reciting and meditating, may I and every being to whom I am connected, as soon as these impure forms are left behind, miraculously born in Dewa Chen. Ditargam deji. Whoops.
That's good. Go.
Ditargam deji pesonamki dadandala druakun misamudi borwajermata dewa chendu. Immediately then, having thoroughly traversed the 10 levels, may we benefit others with emanations in the 10 directions. By this virtue, may all beings perfect the accumulations of merit and wisdom, and arising from merit and wisdom, obtain the 2 sacred bodies. Bodhicitta is precious. May it arise in whom it has not arisen. Once arisen, may it ever grow and flourish. Kema tatu satu abdrune trupe chuchu shindun je partial gewadi kewoku sonam yeshe sozote sonam yeshe lejunwe dampa Ke payam pa me pa do gone gong du power show.
Let's see. We have some things to say, Bill. Oh, here.
A few reminders. Of course, there's this Friday and Saturday, the non-residential retreat for the taking and sending practice with Zopa. So Zopa will be here Friday and Saturday, and you can register online for that. If you have questions about it, you can ask me a bit about it. She's at home recovering from some things that come up cold-wise. So, but she called up, was cheerful in spite of it all. She's probably watching right now. So I have to mind myself. Sorry, careful. But it should be a great opportunity to go through a little bit of the background of the practice, as well as have some opportunity to really soak in doing the practice of taking and sending. One of the more profound ways to go deeply into the cultivation of compassion, and actually compassion and wisdom. So there's that, and there's also the Bodhisattva celebration on the afternoon of the 16th. You've all heard the announcement so often, you can do it better than I can. And so that's an opportunity for us to come together and share stories about bodhisattvas, whether official or unofficial. So, and there's a poster back there about that. Then, of course, this year we'll be celebrating New Year's, as we do, marking this arbitrary moment in the calendar with non-arbitrary practice. So we have 2 days of karma abiding, and then refuge ceremony on New Year's, a great time to renew the refuge vow for the coming year, and also for an opportunity for those who haven't taken refuge to take refuge, if that's of interest. And if you have any interest in that, you can talk to Michael or any of us about that. That's it. Oh, and we're back at 1:30, right? So back at 1:30, and this is mainly brown bag. If you're expecting a wonderful spread of, well, there you go with expectations. Oh yeah, there are places close by to pick up a sandwich or other things. Sandwich or a wonderful chili relleno burrito down the way this way. So.